All right, we are live. Good evening, everybody. Man Cave. Oh, and of course, I botched up my camera right away. I got to get something different because all it takes is touching that cord. And,
There
anyways,
you are. We see
realities
you.
aside, welcome to Man Cave Sports. Here to do a Hungry Like the Wolves podcast to discuss game one of the Timberwolves and Golden State Warriors, which three of the four of us were at last night. Steve is out tonight. He was in attendance as well. So we had Man Cave well represented at the game last evening. A game that, quite frankly, most Wolves fans probably want to forget. Timberwolves lost pretty handedly. They did cut it down to 9 at one point there, but every time they cut it down to single digits, I think it happened 2 or 3 times. Buddy Hield or Jonathan Kuminga, somebody would pop a three and set us back to reality. So, needless to say, we did do a live show last night at Surly Brewing pregame, and unfortunately, half of it was cut. Didn't have the predictions of the gentleman of the man cave on it. So, just want to, for the record, put out that Mr. Steve, who is not here, had predicted the Wolves in 6. Brett was not in attendance, but Brett also picked them in 6. Razor, the optimist that he is, picked the Wolves in 5, which is still mathematically possible there, Mr. Shannon Sharp, Unk. And being naughty, waffled, but ultimately will translate whatever gibberish he put into Wolves in 6. So, with that said, Brett, you weren't in attendance with us. I'm just going to quickly,
Yeah.
and we haven't talked to you. We haven't talked to you, obviously, today. So, just want to get your take on the game itself before I go to the others.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I'm going to have much that any of you gentlemen did experience. I cannot imagine what that experience was like in the Target Center last night. Just rough, man. Just one of those nights. One of those nights we've experienced all too many times, particularly this whole season. With that said, though, my attitude is, as Chuck D, a Public Enemy, said, don't let a win get to your head or a loss to your heart. It's one game.
Like it.
It's game one. It's a series for a reason. We knew this would be a tougher series than LA. I don't think that the national media or like the narratives would have led you to believe that, but I think all of us have watched enough this team. We've been aware of who the Golden State Warriors are, especially post trade deadline. I'm admitted to eating a little bit of crow post Jimmy trade. I didn't think Jimmy would have as much juice for them as he has. So I begrudgingly have to tip my hat to Jimmy. Draymond still got a little bit of juice in him, as we saw yesterday. It's just one of those nights. I'm the sky's not falling in my world. It was really unfortunate. You hate to drop a game at any series. It just gives you a little less room for error. But it's a 7-game series. I know. Just kind of beating the same drum that everybody's beating today. Yeah, it just you would like to say, and I think that the way that we all felt after game 2 in LA is, well, they can't possibly shoot that bad again. Well, they might. So we need to be ready for that. With that said, though, I still think we're the better team. Knocking on wood, I'm not gonna fly that flag too passionately today. I think tomorrow's another day. This is a team that's always been really predicated on vibes. I know after that Milwaukee meltdown, I was ready to just drive my head through a wall. And then, a couple games later, we're right back to flying. It didn't matter anymore. So the fortunate thing about the playoffs is you win a few and you can take these guys out, and that game will not have mattered in Timberwolves lore. But you got to do it. And that's what it comes down to now is Finchy getting the guys to focus up. I hope Dante and Na put up 200 to 300 shots in the gym today because drawing front iron's not going to do it. We can dwell on Ant all day, but at the end of the day, those guys are paid 8 figures to shoot the ball too. And it's been 5-6 games now. At some point, something's got to give, and one of these role players outside of Nas needs to be able to drop the 3 ball. So I don't know. We'll get there. That's all I got.
I hear you there, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Warriors with the next line of questioning, but I want to stick with the Wolves here. And Ramon, I know you're a diehard man. You love the Wolves as like nobody I know everything about them. But Let's talk a little bit. Obviously, and we could talk about till we're blue in the face, as Brett mentioned. He's had two straight bad games in a row, but I want to talk about some Wolves that are definitely trending in the wrong direction this whole series, or not even this whole series, this whole playoff run. Nikhil Alexander Walker. I think he had 10 points in the clinching victory over the Lakers, but it wasn't on great shooting numbers. But he has been, and don't get me wrong, he's out there hustling on defense, but his shot has been god awful. Dante, Dante is hustling out there. He's making a difference on defense, especially, but his shot is not falling. Last night, Rudy had a decent game. Randall was somewhat consistent, a little down numbers wise from what he was previous, but talk about some of the Timberwolves that have yet to really show up offensively in the playoffs. And now to me, it's a trend because we're 6 games deep now, and I still haven't seen a breakout performance or what I would consider a good offensive game from Nikhil, from Dante. I mean, Nas has had some good games and some great moments too, but talk a little bit about, I guess, our bench and how they have seemed to fail to answer the bell, at least the last few games, especially.
Well, most of the talk I think is about the like historically bad shooting that the Wolves have put forth. And Edwards, the bench, just up and down the roster, they shot what 17% from three. I think 14% in the clincher from three as well. It's a team thing. Ant's not hitting. It doesn't seem that anybody's hitting. To me, though, the biggest concern is that they really had no energy last night. Not just Anthony Edwards, but it just didn't look like a lot of guys on the bench even. Well, nah, to be exact. He just didn't look locked in. It seemed like he was passing up good shots to take bad shots. And then, like you said, Dante hasn't shot well, but he's helped in other ways. He's passing the ball. He's playmaking on defense, getting steals, getting blocks. But no, one of his strengths is his defense. And I thought that took a major, major step back last night. It's one thing not to shoot well, but for a guy whose probably best attribute is his defense, he got blown by that lacrosse player. He just blown by for a layup. How does that happen? And then to a guy that's often tasked with guarding elite offensive players. And then Buddy Hield, who had a very good night, he guarded him. I think Warriors missed a shot, and then he just lost him. And then Hield got a wide open three, and it just seemed to be his shot selection, decision making is just maybe has the yips. He just doesn't seem to know what a good shot is anymore. And then to see his defense suffer is concerning to me. And Mr. Steve, if you're listening, you're probably going to love to hear this. But I mean, that the question is, how much more rope are you going to give him? Is it time to give a guy like TSJ or Jalen Clark some of those minutes? Because Nah also brings energy. I didn't really see that much energy coming out of him. And just up and down the roster, I mean, who could you really argue played super hard last night? Nas,
Rudy?
Rudy, perhaps. Randall,
Uh,
I think, had some moments too. Dante was trying hard, but he just wasn't shooting well. But outside of that, felt like a lot of the rest of the guys were just kind of like, eh, kind of played it like a regular season game. And so I know you asked me more about the bench, but I thought that was a huge advantage we had going in, and we haven't taken advantage. We didn't take advantage last night. And but the thing to me was just like, where was the energy? How could you not be locked in a game one when you had a week or so, a little less than a week to rest. So it's enough time to get like rested, but it's not too much time where you could lose your edge, I don't think. But it just was that was the biggest disappointment to me is just like, why aren't these guys locked in? Why aren't these guys seemingly trying very hard?
Yeah.
That's all I
Yeah.
got.
And and today, as expected, and even last night while we were at the game, I know the gentlemen of the man cave were having discussions and very vocally voicing their displeasure of one Mr. Chris Finchy, as he's known in many Timberwolves circles. Brian, talk a little bit about Finchy and how much he's accountable, or do you hold him accountable for their performance last night? Because Razor, I think you made a good point. At some juncture, guys like Nikhil, if they're not producing, when are you going to start turning to a TSJ or a Jalen Clark? And how much of this is on Finchy, Brian?
A whole hell of a lot of it, to be honest. And I'm the biggest Finchy apologist there, as my esteemed colleague Razor is as well. But there's there has to be accountability while you're letting these guys play through a funk. This is game one of the second round of the playoffs. If the energy's not there, you just can't leave them out there. And the timeouts, I've been praising him recently, and he's using those a lot better. Not last night, and it seems like Kerr had him from the moment that at tip off, and I hate it. I'm a Finchy guy, and just like Razor said with Nah, I mean, you can't help it. Sometimes you have a bad shooting day. I I would like to think that you can have a bad coaching day, but my dauber's down. Mr. Steve, if you're listening, I actually agree with you on it. But as Mr. Brett said, it's game one. I mean, after the Milwaukee Mayhem thing that we went to, Michael, we were down for a couple of days and we were flying high right again. But he's got to look at himself in the mirror, the rotations. We even got TSJ there for a little bit. And just in that brief little moment that TSJ was out there, he was playing hard. It kind of gave us a little boost. He just got to step out of his pocket. And, sometimes you got to read the game. You just don't go with how you coach. Let's just hope for more from all of us and or all of them. And hopefully he looks himself in the mirror and makes some adjustments.
Yeah, I'll say two interesting things that I watched today or read about was Finchy did call out Ant for his play last night and being the leader, which I appreciate it. I mean, Ant might need to hear that. And he coaches Ant hard, and Ant wants to be coached hard. So I appreciate that. The biggest problem I had with Chris Finch last night is Nas, I think he was going after a ball, flew into the first row. We all witnessed it. And he limped around for 2 possessions and ended up having to foul somebody before they got him out of there. That's where Finchy is very conservative with his timeouts. And I can't even remember the end result if it cost us some points. My assumption is that it did. But that's the type of stuff that I'll be honest, Steve Kerr, veteran coach, has championships, both as a player and as a coach. I don't think he would have let that happen. So Finch needs to make sure that, I mean, not saying that it cost us the game, but something should have been done to get Nas the hell out of there. So,
right.
Other than that, I have faith in Coach Finch. I'm not an apologist or a Monsters fan. I think I consider myself more neutral. I think he's been a great coach. He's led us to 4 straight playoff appearances, and the team loves him. So I'm cool with Finch, but yeah, I think he could definitely step up this next game. Let's talk about the Warriors a little bit. Obviously, to me, I don't think any of us, even Warriors fans, saw Draymond looking like Steph out there in Steph's absence as far as the 3-pointers go. But I mean, Draymond had a great game. Buddy Hield, I don't think it made our podcast last night that got cut off, but he was my X factor. It's just like, hey, if he starts shooting like he's capable of and did in the previous series, they might be in trouble. But the biggest news of the day, and even last night, the Steph Curry is, let's be honest, I don't know if we'll see him back in the series. I think it's all but certain he will not be back in the next 3 games minimum, because they're saying a week. We're playing every other night. So, I mean, Thursday, Saturday, Monday. I think there's a bigger lull between games 4 and 5 or 5 and 6. I can't remember. Either way, it's a fair certainty that we will not see Steph Curry in the next 3 games. Brett, how do you think that impacts this series? Obviously, dramatically, but tell us what you think about that.
Yeah, huge, obviously. I think the main component, as you just mentioned, Buddy Hield going off. Listening to Jade McDaniels talk today, who has also just been a really steady force this entire playoffs and kind of the later portion of the season. And really, if not Rudy, I mean, Jaden's probably our defensive anchor. Certainly our defensive anchor on the perimeter. So Jaden just cool as a cucumber, talking things over, mentioning that now you just shift the game plan and do everything that you would have done to shut off the water, as he put it, of Steph Curry. Now you just put that energy into Buddy Hield. So in theory, changes a lot of things. with his Wolves. Will they do that? I think that, I mean, the levers are there to pull, but yeah, it certainly changed the dynamic. It changes the way that you're, running scout teams and whatnot. I was kind of high going into the series. I thought we had some answers for Steph, not necessarily answers, but just some things that other teams might not have. I thought like combination of Conley, Naw, Dante chasing him around, probably could chase him around as well as anybody, right? So now, I don't know, maybe you shift that. Hield's not quite as small as Curry. I don't know how you're going to play this now. I really, it's a lot different than the LA series where you didn't have like 5 days to put together a game plan. It was kind of like, we're sitting here on Sunday night. Is it going to be Houston? Is it going to be Golden State? So that's a little bit of a break that I'll give Finch and the coaching staff is, you only had like 48 hours to prepare for these guys. So hopefully now that we know we've collected that data, and we're all big fight fans. We watch Floyd Mayweather fights, and he would usually spot you the first 3 rounds. Maybe that's what we did yesterday. We spotted them the first round, collected some data, saw what they have in their arsenal when Steph is out, and watched a ton of tape today. I'm sure that they did. I know, again, listening to like Dante's availability, mentioning that nobody was safe in that film room. But I think they got a nice picture of what the Warriors are going to look like for at least the next game, probably, as you just alluded to, a handful more. So it's going to be super interesting. It's not really a team. This version of the Warriors is not a team that any of us projected in this playoffs, right? As you kind of look ahead, you're like, all right, well, Lakers, LeBron, Luka, Warriors, Steph, Shea, and OKC. Nobody forecasted a Jimmy Butler and Buddy Hield led Golden State Warriors in the second round, but that's the task at hand. Back to the film room and let's get after it tomorrow. So yeah, it'll be different. I don't have a very well cooked answer for you because we're kind of just absorbing things as we go along in this series. But I feel I got confidence in this team to figure out what's in front of them as of right now for at least game 2.
No doubt, no doubt. Just for your guys' knowledge, with about 3 minutes left in the third, New York has cut into the Celtics lead. It is 86-81. So
Ooh, let's
an
go.
interesting game taking place that we'll be able to watch the fourth quarter when we get out of here. Razor, you talked about the bench of the Timberwolves and how, especially the last couple of games, how they have not delivered. Talk about Golden State's bench, because last night we were talking before we went out to the game and even during the game just about some of the guys that we didn't necessarily expect to come in and contribute like they did. Kaminga, the rugby player or whatever. I can't.
Number
Spencer.
61.
Yeah, number 61. I don't know what the hell his name is. Sorry. Like someone said, I apologize. I wasn't familiar with your game, but talk about their bench last night, because I thought they were pretty damn impressive. Obviously, Buddy's a starter. But I just talk about some of their unsung heroes last night, because I thought their bench definitely outplayed us.
For sure. And you talked about Mooney, 14 minutes, 6 boards, 2 steals, and then Pat Spencer. Is it rugby or is it lacrosse, guys?
Lacrosse.
Okay. I wasn't sure
Either
about
way,
that.
a sport I don't watch.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was 2 for 4. He had a couple of nice finishes at the rim. He had a couple boards, couple steals. He made that the Warriors had over the Wolves. I think they had 51 rebounds. The Wolves had 41. I think they might have had 18 offensive rebounds as well. And we're supposed to be the bigger and stronger team. So not only did we shoot like crap, but
Yep. So I think we can all agree that we knew defensively the Warriors were going to be a tougher task than the Lakers. And even Steph, as long as the tooth as he is, I noticed in the prior series how well he was playing defense, hustling, etc. But Brian, you like to talk about nurture versus nature, etc. Talk about the Warriors' defense. And last night was the Wolves' shooting woes. Were they a result of Golden State's defense, or just the Wolves' offense, or lack thereof?
Yeah, it goes both ways there, Michael. It really does. It did kind of look at like that Milwaukee Mayhem game. That zone defense was pulled out a lot by Steve Kerr. And I thought we had answers for it. We all thought that there was answers for that. But I think it's the lack of energy. Uh, Nobody really looked like they wanted to play last night. Dante really wanted to play. He's actually overplaying. Nas, for example, uh, it's just the lack of energy. I think it made it easy for him to run that zone and fall right into it. It's a game of adjustments. That's going to have to be the focus on the way here or to the next game. And I'm sorry I'm so downtrodden about this. I mean, I'm not my usual be naughty self, but I gotta come back and be positive. The one positive thing about this is there's no way we could fucking play any worse.
Let's hope not. Let's hope
Well,
not.
yeah.
Oh wow, we got Cat at the line. Knicks down by 1 with 2.5 minutes left in the third.
Wow.
So, and hey, that's the second round. So far, it's been the road team doing all the damage. And we get to see another nice matchup tonight. I'm going to throw a couple names out, maybe some that we talked a little less about on the Timberwolves side, and I'll just let you guys talk about how they played and what they need to do in game 2. So I'll start with you, Brett. Let's talk about Rudy real quick. Coming off of his huge game against the Lakers, what did you think of his performance last night? I will say this before you chime in. The Man Cave group in the stands noticed in the third quarter he was not out there very much, and we all kind of question it. But
Yeah.
talk about Rudy's performance last night.
Yeah, as far as Rudy goes, I think that I hate to harken back to Finch, but that just comes down to another weapon that's in your bag on a bad shooting night. That why not lean more heavily on Rudy and getting down low? And he had a dunk on Jimmy that looked pretty authoritative, and it was like, maybe I'm not saying that was there all day, but I don't know, man. Like for that second quarter, it's like let's try to just shift things and work that lob. So a lot of what Rudy does or doesn't do is kind of contingent on like what coaching and the guards around him decide he's going to do that night.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been a really nice adjustment to lean on in the second half, third quarter, fourth quarter. Rudy's going to be Rudy regardless. It's just a matter of how you're going to use him. We learned that when we first brought him in, and then it took Swap and D'Lo for Mike Conley to unlock him. But we got those tools that can unlock him now. Dante finds him really nicely. Ants learned to find him. Mike Conley has always been a phenomenal running mate for him. I really would have liked to have seen more emphasis from a game planning standpoint on utilizing Rudy. He did have a few moments in the fourth and was put some points on the board. So really, I don't have much of a critique or a praise for Rudy. It just kind of just harkens back to coaching. Like the 3-point shots were not there. Let's get that thing down low. We got a smaller opponent in front of us, and we got a 7-foot octopus in the paint. Let's use them. So hopefully that's a lesson learned. Hopefully it's a lesson learned that we don't have to utilize moving forward. Hopefully our threes just start falling. Good Lord. But in the event that we experience what we experienced in game 2 in LA and game 5 in LA and game 1 yesterday, let's just, let's pull that weapon out of the bag. That's all I got, man.
Yeah, and I did notice there was a time or two where Rudy was down low waiting for Ant to give him the ball, and Ant didn't. So I'm hoping that there's not any trust issues there. I know Ant has talked about it over the years, even early this season, about how much they trust Rudy.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully, they get that ironed out before tomorrow night's game. Razor, Mike Conley all season and including the playoffs has been a lightning rod for fans. Everybody loves Mike, man. You're never going to question his hustle, what he means to the team, the locker room presence, just a good dude that he is. But he struggled in these playoffs and more of the same last night. Talk about bite.
I love me some bite. I love me the elder statesman. I love me the older guy, undersized guy, still playing ball. And typically doing it at a high level, but he has not been shooting well for a long time. Early in the season, shot was a problem. But as the season progressed, it felt like he kind of found the shot, or at least every other game would shoot pretty well. But so far in the playoffs, I think he's maybe had one good shooting night, if I remember correctly. 0 for 5 overall last night, 0 for 2 from 3. of course, he took care of the ball, didn't have any turnovers, and had 5 assists. I thought this was a series that, he was gonna be able to play more because there were more players that he could guard, chasing around a shooter like Buddy Hield, maybe even matching up with Podjemski, or I'm mispronouncing his name, I am certain.
Wojcinski.
But
Who cares?
thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. But the Wolves need him to hit some shots. And being the 37-year-old elder statesman, when the team is struggling, it falls on the vets sometimes, not just the stars, to say, all right, I know we're all struggling. Maybe we are getting the yips here, but I gotta make something happen. And I applaud him for not trying too hard to do things. He's not overstretching, but he's getting open looks and he just isn't hitting them. And it's a problem, especially when the rest of the team can't hit a shot. So um, it was not a great performance from Mike Conley to be 0 for 5 in 22 minutes. So he needs to start shooting better, just plain and simple.
No doubt, no doubt. One player we haven't talked about who's been steady, we've mentioned him, but talk about Jaden last night, Brian. I thought he played all right. He had a couple of nice baskets when we started making a run there. I don't know if there was anything good or bad that stuck out about him last night, but like we said, there wasn't anybody last night where we left the game thinking, man, they were really, Ant went on a heater towards the end, but by then it was pretty much too little, too late.
Mm-hmm.
So just talk about Jaden's performance last night and anything that he needs to do. It sounds like in the press conference today, I will say this, I like their demeanor before I turn it over to you, Brian. Ant was pretty jovial and kind of amusing in the post game press conference. I know a lot of fans and even media people took that negatively, like, hey, they just got their asses kicked. Why is he laughing? But to me, I like that he's loose. I like that they're not, they don't seem as worried as the fan base does. But talk about Jaden.
Well, we were in the catbird seat. We were right on top of it. So I mean, if you wanted to eyeball one guy, you could eyeball him. And I watched him all around. I don't know what sports commentator calls people jag, just another guy. He just kind of looked like he was just there. But it does show me how spoiled we are with him when we're really good. He's shooting at a high percentage and scoring some points and locking down that D. It seemed Jimmy kind of had his way with him a little bit, even though, like Razor would say, "Oh, he's going to fall down now after anytime he got the ball at the end there." But it's a bad game for us all. I mean, everybody on the squad, but he'll be back. I mean, he's going to come and lock down Jimmy or try to at least. He's just had an off game, and that's why we're so spoiled when he's going nuts and playing and actually acting like a 7-foot rim protector out there, along with the 3-and-D. We're spoiled when he's doing well, so it's kind of shows in the outcome when he's not. But game 2 is another day.
All right. And game 2 is tomorrow night. We don't have to wait long, so that's a good thing. I believe it's an earlier start too. Is it not 7:30 Central tomorrow?
I
Finally.
thought it was 8:30.
Is it
I thought it was
8:30?
8:30, but I could be wrong.
I don't know.
Damn it, I have to validate it because we're all about reporting. We are not fake news here at Man Cave Sports, so nobody will ever accuse us of that. It is 7:30 Central tomorrow, so
Oh, my
you
bad.
can actually get a decent night's sleep. I know I didn't, but anyways, I'm one of those people. When I come back from a game, especially that I attended, it takes a couple hours to come down, especially that Lakers game, week and a half ago, gentlemen.
Right.
But we talked about last night. We gave our predictions. We reviewed them today because that didn't make the cast. But I'm gonna go around. Last question for everybody: how do you think the series is going to play out, given last night's performance, as well as the fact that we might not see Steph Curry again in the series? Brett, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it's unique. Like, would you rather be the team that's up 1-0, or would you rather be the team that didn't just lose their best player? I don't know, man. As of right now, I think I win Wolves in 6. I still feel confident in that call. I think that we'll right set some things. I would really like to say let's make it Wolves in 5, man. If for nothing else, just to spare me the Jimmy Butler Buddy Hield press conferences. I know we all can't stand Jimmy for a variety of reasons. Mine is that he just thinks he's so funny, and it's the same bit over and over again, just ribbing the guy next to him. Looks so funny, Jimmy. No, can we just please not have another Jimmy Butler celebratory press conference? Let's just close these guys out in 5 and take this thing home. But I'm still going to stick with Wolves in 6.
Sorry, and I kept saying third quarter earlier. It was fourth quarter. Mikal Bridges just blocked Jason Tatum, and the New York Knicks had went up 2-0 on the
No
Boston
way. Oh,
Yep.
let's go.
Yep. Mikal Bridges just locked up Tatum
Oh,
on a jumper to win
Man,
it. I don't even know why the hell I thought it was the third. I'm just off today, man. Between the
some
game last
Mikal
night and the fishing.
Bridges apology forms probably
Yes.
circulated in New York now as we did our Julius apology forms. Man,
Wow.
that's
Who saw the Knicks going up 2-0? And here's the thing, they were down mightily. They went on a 21-2 run towards the end here just to get back in the game. So this is insane. Still, no home team has won yet. So
Wow.
if you're the OKC Thunder right now, you're probably shitting your pants. Anyways, Razor, what I know you were very enthused going into the series
Yeah.
last night and gave the old Wolves in 5.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
Shannon Sharp-esque. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts after last night's game as well as Steph's injury?
I got a little overly zealous. I think going into that conversation, I was thinking Wolves in 6. And then perhaps it was the Surly beer getting into my system a little bit. And then right before I was about to say it, I was like, yeah, Wolves in 5. And it's not looking good right now, but it is still mathematically possible. I'm going to adjust it to probably Wolves in 6 now. I still think they're going to win. I am concerned about complacency, as I have been all season. Without Curry in there, they might take it a little easy. I don't know. I sure hope not. But man, they have taken a beating through by the national media, by the local media, even us. And so I do think that that will hopefully wake them up. And I think that's what it's all about. If they come in locked in and they have to shoot better, it just seems like it's not possible to continue to shoot this poorly from professional athletes who'd shot it well all season pretty much. So I do still feel pretty optimistic. Last night stung mostly, not just the bad shooting, but just the lack of energy bugged me. But I do think that the Wolves are at their best when they are threatened, when they are looked at as the underdog. Not to say that they are looked at as the underdog now, but now they're they're in a bad spot right now to have lost that game the way they did. It's not insurmountable at all, but I feel like the Wolves play best when they're in positions such as these.
Yeah, and if you remember last year, second round, the Timberwolves went to Denver and won 2 games right away. Well, 3 games later, they found themselves in a 3-2 game deficit, ended up winning the series. So one game, especially the first, is not a series make, but
Right.
I would say I'd get a little bit nervous if they went down 0-2 and having to
Yeah.
go play 2 on the road. So,
For sure.
Brian, any adjustments to your jagged prediction of, if this
Hey,
happens in this Wolves in 6?
yeah. Well, I did the old, hey, if we win the first game, we could win in 5. If we lose the first game, we're gonna win in 6. I still feel safe. I feel comfortable about that, and I'm gonna stick with it because that is what I want to do. As far as Steph Curry being out, it kind of scares me. You guys all know I'm a Finchy guy. I always apologize for him or make excuses. But since he's been here, it is like the YMCA Philadelphia 76ers or the G League Pacers when they're missing their star players or they got 2-3 guys out. That's the ones that give us problems. Is hey, Steph Curry's out, great. But when you look back at the last 5 years, the shorthanded teams seem to play awfully well against us. And I'm just hoping it doesn't continue. Wolves in 6, baby.
Yeah, and I said Wolves in 7. I still think they could do better than that, but to me, I just not gonna say I had a bad feeling about this series, but I figured it'd be a lot tougher than the pundits and even some of the fans and even all of us here. Uh, I knew they'd probably give us a little more than we bargained for, and we saw it last night. I mean, Curry, I think he played 13 minutes. I can't remember what he had for points, but I mean they won without him, and they're going to have to do the same for at least the next few games. So we'll see. But either way, I think the Timberwolves definitely will put on a better performance one way or another tomorrow, and even throughout the rest of the series. Hopefully, that's the worst of it. Knock on wood. But with that, we will wrap up this edition of Wolves Warriors Game 1 recap. Might do a recap this weekend of Game 2. Tough to get everybody together towards the weekend, so we'll see. It might just be a few of us. Mr. Steve might be back. I don't know what Brett's weekend is looking like. I think Friday night I could do something, but I'll text all of you guys and we'll see what we can do there. But with that, we're going to sign out here. I'm going to go watch Denver and OKC, man, see if somebody can finally get a home win because this is crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
man, and I mean, look at the East, though. Think of that, man. Cleveland and Boston down 0-2 at home, man. That's just crazy. They have big, big holes to climb out of. But been exciting, man. A lot of finishes going right down the end, just like this one. So let's go enjoy this late game. Go Denver. And we will see you guys soon. Appreciate it.